course. Today we're going to discuss some nutrition purpose of the other variable things here. I'm just talking about the gastro and drive tendency. You know, gastro and drive system. Yeah, gastro and drive system mean when you have a stomach, you know how the stomach structure is like structure, the small intestine. Surrounding they have the large intestine, it's going to be eating. Then the first thing going to be referred to the hemis. So then go to the stomach, and then the small intestine. Here the prebiotics I'm talking about, not talking about. So this gut is called intestine, or simply we call it gut. Together this is called gastro and dry system, or gastro and dry problem that you have these things, very normal things, This has been serious issue to play, So some things, which is very funny. I'm going to describe these things in very old-fashioned. That is going to be the prebiotics or prebiotics, yes. Probiotics and pro-symbiotics. Prebiotics, most people don't know, they use these things in dynamics. They didn't mark these things to differentiate, but they didn't spell these jackets, pre or pro, but actually they are different things, What prebiotics actually, these are fruit and vegetable. Fruit and vegetable. Which have, they have phenolic compound. What? Phenolic compound, that is important. And they are antioxidant, and they have a fiber density, so they are going to be moved to intestine, they will be unchanged, they have a fiber. They have a fiber. This is also going to be the markings. Let me tell us in the same version, Probiotics. Probiotics actually, this is a useful bacteria, the live bacteria. That is the live bacteria which live, which are found in our gut. I'm talking about gut or intestine. And our intestine, trillion of bacteria are going to live here. That their role is very, very important. So here's the live bacteria. They play an important role. Let me examine these things. For example, they're also available in supplementary form, supplement form. All of you should have these things in powder form or capsule. Powder as well in capsule form, these are going to be available. So that they have nervous problems. So these are prebiotics that they have, one of the things which I have mentioned there. Going to be antioxidant density, they have phenolic compound, that they have a fiber density. So it's very, very important that you have a gastric problem in dry along with a dry problem. You need a fiber, laxative things, because they will provide a barrier for absorption is concerned. Because your small intestine have a role, which is very, very remarkable. Why fruit and vegetable are going to recommend it other things about these things because they have a low glycemic index. Another thing which I have, glycemic index. What glycemic index means, the term is used especially. When a certain food which we add, even a certain food which affects our blood glucose, the nice thing that is your blood is that sugar in glucose. When we eat certain food that have affected your blood glucose, that's called glycemic index, for example. Just talking about glucose, the glycemic index of glucose is 100%. Well, let me explain that thing. Fructose, glucose, fructose, that's one. Another one that is saccharomyces, the typical sugar we call them, that is 20, that is 36. Why they have 100% glycemic index? Because they are going to be diffused with matter of second. The matter of second you need to cook, they're going to diffuse in your blood. Wow, that's why when you have a stress condition, obviously that is why but this is something else. Okay, the fructose, the glycemic index is low because they're going to proceed in later. This means glucose have a high metabolic fat phase. They are very speedy while they are going to proceed in later. It's low, it's concerned. Chicory is made of fructose, as sucrose. Fructose will go to the liver first, and sucrose will diffuse into blood. Oh my goodness, that is very, very important. Some sort of fruit, you're just talking about alpha apple, you know about apple, banana. You know, apple, I'm not talking about urine, but I'm just talking about, let's call it stress, apple. And apple, the key doctor, that has been medical literature recommended for your good health is it. They have a glucose, they have a glucose and fructose ratio in both cases. 1 and 1, and banana the same. 1 glucose, 1 fructose. Banana is going to be the source of potash, source of iron. Wow. You know what banana have, you know, they boost your mood, so they have boosting intensity because the secretion, the enormous secretion of citrulline, we call them boosting hormone, happy hormones. So when you have a digestive problem, you need to eat a lot of banana. That is kind of very important. Okay, the prebiotics are very, very important. For example, this is your gut. Suppose this is your gut. Yeah, let me point out that it is going to be hot. You have a bad bacteria. You have a bad bacteria, and hot. You have a good bacteria. So when we refer to this sort of supplement, prebiotics, what happened? There's going to be always concerned, so that they will increase the good bacteria, increase the gut. So this is going to be off. That's going to be very right. So this is going to be relatively more to the so that is going to be the prebiotics. So I will mention, I recommend that prebiotics is simply is better than probiotics. Probiotics is an example of probiotics. Again, probiotics. Example is yogurt, that is biology number 1, yogurt, they talk, yogurt, kefir, black chocolate, talking about French have a lot of tradition about chocolate, it's black chocolate. Even that, they are going to be fermented. For example, black tea are going to be fermented, and the sand patient rice are going to be fermented, and the sand patient cucumber are going to be fermented. This is very enormous things, the fermentation area, that's a lot of bacteria or yeast. The yeast is also play an important role because they have the DQ fermentation. You know about the intestine itself. Let me say about the intestine. And this intestine, this is going to be intestine, 75% fermentation are going to proceed. Wow, what's be responsible for that thing? Oh my goodness. So what about the mixture going to be involved? What sort of things bacteria are going to do for us? It's the sand bacteria, together these things, we get these together, so the probiotics, prebiotics, together we call Synbiotics. Well, for example, some patient, when we put this thing to the patient, and the patient is not going to use a certain type of therapy, the treatment, but they're not going to work an extensive way. The therapy is not going to work in an extensive way or even conventionally way, then we should put Synbiotics. Synbiotics would be antibiotics. Of course, then there have to be prebiotics, then there have to be probiotics in consent. So then we put these things together, so they will give some sort of response. If the patient didn't give conventional response, then we need. We have an alternative there, then we should put such a thing along with antibiotics, prebiotics, and probiotics. Then, of course, for example, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, UTI, urinary tract infection, these things that, for example, gas blowing, glottis, gas blowing, these things are very much recommended. So this has been an enormous thing. So there's been enormously important, One hand, prebiotics have a role in case, The role is going to be here, that is very, very important. Antioxidant. Why? Antioxidant means they're used against the oxidant. Certain food which we eat in our body metabolize most chemical reaction that can proceed. For example, microbes. One hand they are very, very good because they are powerhouse, but other hand they produce oxidation, more oxidation. Similarly for oxyserum, hydrogen peroxide, picocytosis, phagocytosis, even drugs, they produce oxidation. That oxidation sometimes, this is drastic, they produce what? Oxidative stress. Oxidative stress will create the degenerative illness, for example, nervous transmission problem, of course, cardiovascular problem. Of course, the last but not the least one, that is going to be cancer. So oncologists recommend the fruit and vegetable is antioxidant. There's an antioxidant. This prebiotic which will make the oxidation. On one hand, that is very, very good because oxidation is going to be going and producing energy. But on the other hand, so they are mutual. At the same time, we call them it is antagonistic probiotic. Anyhow, they are sometimes symbiotic and mutual relationship of those are going to be important because otherwise we have an oxidative stress and they're going to create a problem. What the target of these, oxidant target to the nucleus and nuclear brand, because these periodical are fairly strong. For example, we have a species of that, the periodical species, we have oxygen periodical species, nitrogen periodical species, I don't remember these things. They have a very, very drastic effects because they will promote the thing like cancer. So we have also recommended that good food is actually prebiotics, the good food too, probiotics, very, very important, yogurt, beef, lava, maso, these are going to be very black chocolate. Even really, we should call antioxidant. Antioxidant are going to fall in vitamin C. Vitamin A, B is not bad. But the better thing is vitamin C, carotene, beta, flavonoid, and the best, even in the fruit like blackberry, raspberry, they are going to be the awesome, enormous, and protein. So these things, prebiotics, symbiotics, we must differentiate these. Most people call these things synonyms. The prebiotics are going to be the fruit and vegetable. Probiotics are those we use with the symbiotics. Together we fruit these things even when we have a chronic problem and we have chronic disease. So thanks for your attention.